people of Huntington, people of West Virginia, let's show a very, very special welcome to the President of the United States, the First Lady, Chelsea. Let's show them a good, warm welcome. You can do better than that. Come on. Mr. President, you can see from the thousands and thousands of people that are here that West Virginia loves Bill Clinton. And you should love Bill Clinton because he's been a great president. 10 million new jobs in America. 10 million hardworking people getting a minimum wage increase. 10,000 police on the street. And listen to this. The lowest combined inflation, interest, and mortgage rates in 27 years. These are just a few of the accomplishments of President Clinton. Mr. President, you have done a great job, and we thank you. During your term as president, West Virginia has also done well. We have the lowest unemployment we've had in 17 years. We have the lowest crime rate in the nation, and we're the leader in the country in using technology and education. We thank you, Mr. President. We celebrate your message of meeting America's challenge through opportunity, responsibility, and community. Therefore, as the governor of the great state of West Virginia, I proclaim August 25th, 1996 as 21st Century Express Day, and I give you this proclamation. Mr. President, may God bless you on this trip. It's now my privilege to introduce the next governor of West Virginia, Charlotte Pritt, to lead us.
Thank you. Thank you, West Virginia. What a great day. What a great day for our state to have the President, the First Lady, and the family. Thank you very much for gracing West Virginia. I am honored to be the Democratic nominee for governor in West Virginia. Thank you, and God bless you for that. And with your help, I'll be a part of a winning team led by our very own President Clinton and supported by our Senators Byrd and Rockefeller and our hard-working congressional delegation that will turn the progress we've made in these last 4 years into real prosperity with Clinton and our delegation for the next 8 years into prosperity. Now join me in honoring this great country and our President as we join in with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and God bless you.
The First Lady has visited Marshall University twice. And I want you to show her how happy you are. She's back in Huntington again today. Hillary Rodham Clinton is a remarkably talented and effective person, a great wife and a great mother. With her accomplishments, the work that moves me the most has been her work for children. No one has done more, thought more deeply, fought harder, and brought a deeper commitment to the cause of children than this First Lady. Her best-selling book, It Takes a Village, has helped our nation gain a new understanding of the challenges of our children. We in West Virginia understand her book. We agree that parents have the greatest responsibility to raise children, but children also need neighbors and churches and temples and teachers and coaches and decent communities and a society that really cares for them. We in West Virginia understand it takes a village. I've known the First Lady for almost 10 years, and I just want to tell you, she's a person of great strength, of great character, of great talent, and of grace. Would you please welcome the First Lady of the United States, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for thank you. Thank you for welcoming Bill and Chelsea and our party here today. We are excited to be back in West Virginia, back in Huntington, and I am personally delighted to be back in the home of the Thundering Herd once again. I want to thank Governor Caperton for his introduction and for his work on behalf of education. I want to say how excited I am that West Virginia will have an accomplished, wonderful new governor when you elect Charlotte Pritt in November. And I am so honored and delighted to be able to introduce someone whom you know well, who stands tall not only because he is, but because of what he does. I had the privilege of working with your senator when he was leading the charge on behalf of health care reform. And no one knew more or cared more about what needed to be done. And just this past week, the president, with the signature he put on the Kennedy-Kassebaum bill, began the process of health care reform that J. Rockefeller and others have worked on for so many years. So those of us in the rest of the country know how fortunate you are to be able to send back to Washington again in November the very accomplished and caring senator, your Senator J. Rockefeller.
Mr. President and Ms. Clinton and Chelsea, this is what we call just kind of a small meeting of West Virginians. I am, for your information, and way back there, informed by the state police that this is the largest political gathering in the history of the state of West Virginia. And since I'm a very logical person, that tells me that we want Clinton and Gore back again. To be introduced by Mrs. Clinton is, for me, a very high honor. As she indicated, I had the privilege of working with her in particular and many others on health care. And when the history of this last half of the century is writ, Hillary Rodham Clinton is going to be right up there with Eleanor Roosevelt. I kid you not. And we haven't done all of health care yet. We've got some work to do still. But as Mrs. Clinton said, we made a good step as a first step when the President signed last week the Kennedy-Casaubon bill, which is going to assure access to working Americans to get and to keep quality health care. No longer, whether you have diabetes or cancer or anything else, can an insurance company say, I will not insure you under the law. They have to. And again, Mrs. Clinton, Hillary Clinton, I thank you for your absolutely vast and profound commitment to the American people. Now, obviously, I'm not exactly unhappy about welcoming the President and Mrs. Clinton to West Virginia, and particularly to Huntington. We are very proud that you have decided, we have decided for you, that you are in fact kicking off your campaign right here in Huntington, West Virginia. And we're proud of that with reason, because in the whole history of this country, there has never been a president who has done more to help West Virginia than President William Jefferson Clinton. Upon his nomination, he came to West Virginia to campaign and spent a lot of time worrying about retired coal miners, making sure they were going to keep their health care benefits, and he promised that if ever something came up that threatened that, he would veto it. Charlotte Pritt isn't the only person who understands coal miners. They got coal mining in Arkansas, too. Coal isn't quite as good, but they've got it. Then when he was elected, the President and the Vice President Gore, came to our state, again as a first stop, to not only do their bus tour, but also to start talking about their economic plan, which has so much helped not only the nation, but also West Virginia. The First Lady, as has been pointed out, has been here twice, has been in a number of other places in West Virginia, dealing with health care and just caring about the people of West Virginia. And this is the only administration I know when 3 members of the cabinet have been down a coal mine in West Virginia. So based just upon this kind of information, it's clear that we in West Virginia have a lot at stake in re-electing President Clinton to a second term. It's in our interest to, as well as the nation's interest, to do that. You know, when the Republicans gained control of Congress, they proposed a whole series of very strongly anti-family agenda items. We Democrats were determined that their agenda would not succeed. They did not care about the human faces that lay behind every one of their cuts, which they are proposing one after another, after another, after another. Remember when they wanted to cut $270 billion out of Medicare so they could give $245 billion of tax cuts to the rich? I don't need it. So they didn't care about seniors, they didn't care about kids, they didn't care about working families. But let me tell you something, as hard as we tried, and we were effective in the Democratic Congress, we could never have stopped that malicious Republican agenda without President Clinton. And we're not going to be able to stop it next year if they hold on to the Congress, which they won't. But we won't be able to stop it if we don't succeed in recapturing the Congress without President Clinton in the White House. You know, there's negative things you do, there's positive things you do, but in this case, being negative to the Republican agenda is in the direct interest of everybody in this vast throng. Will Rogers once said about a Congress, and I'm sure that the President, Mrs. Clinton, and Chelsea would agree with this, in describing the Dole-Gingrich Congress, he said about Congresses in general, this country has come to feel the same when Congress is in session as we do when the baby gets hold of a hammer. It's just a question of how much damage he can do before we take it away from him. And I want to know if West Virginians are ready to take the hammer away from that fat GOP baby. We Democrats and President Clinton say that there's a better way. We've been working on common solutions, sensible solutions for our problems. And I want to repeat what Governor Caperton said a little bit. We have a record, frankly, to really be proud of. And that's why you're going to find at the convention and during the campaign the President concentrating on what has happened for America and what needs to happen in America, not personalizing races with nasty comments. Again, 10 million new jobs created, fact. We've cut the budget deficit by more than 60%. And we did that without a single Republican vote in either the Senate or the House. And we did it while protecting Medicaid and Medicare, which is there for the people who helped to build this country and make it great. The President has cut 250,000 jobs out of the federal bureaucracy, making it the smallest since President John F. Kennedy was president, and in relation to jobs in the country, the smallest percentage since before Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He said he'd do it, he did it. The President expanded the Earned Income Tax Credit, slashing taxes on 15 million working Americans, including 100,000 West Virginia families. The President says, we're going to do a minimum wage. The Republicans say, oh, no, you're not. Well, he signed one, a minimum wage increase. And that will give an increase in salary to 100,000 West Virginians once again. And I don't want to get stuck on 100,000, but we've also put, he has, 100,000 police, uniformed police, on the streets to make America a safer place to live in. And then, of course, I talked to you about the Kennedy-Kassebaum health care bill. Now, President Clinton and Vice President Gore know that it is our duty as West Virginians and Americans, but as Americans first and West Virginians and Democrats second, to make sure that America does not go backward on its commitment to working families. Helping working families is, in fact, what describes the Democratic Party. And as long as the president or I or anybody else has anything to say about it, that's the way it's going to be. It's working families that count. Incidentally, I want to say how proud I am that my wife Sharon, speaking of working families, is here with me, along with Congressman Rahal and Congressman Wise. There's no point for Sharon to stand up, you wouldn't see her, but she's in a very nice thing over there. Now, the great thing about America is that we are the land of promised opportunity, that all of us have a chance for a better life. We're that kind of society. A few years ago, the Owens, Illinois glass plant closed here, hitting Huntington hard. But typical of West Virginians, Huntington pulled itself together, made something good happen. Business and community leaders got together with the media, which was very cooperative, and kicked off something called Our Jobs, Our Children, Our Future. That was the name of the program. And that program gave the folks who were hit by the layoff and the recession at that time an opportunity for a better life. Now, those dark days are behind us. There have been 1,200 new jobs created in Huntington since that time. A critical part of that success was President Clinton's Enterprise Community Program, something you don't hear about often, but something which is basic to economic reconstruction. It allowed hundreds and hundreds of West Virginians to seize new opportunity. And I am proud to introduce one of those West Virginians, Marilyn Mill of Huntington, West Virginia. She served in the Navy Nurse Corps as a lieutenant commander, was in the Persian Gulf War, and she started her own business about a year ago in Huntington with the help of this program that the president and the city fathers and mothers, et cetera, Our Future, helped her. And her business, which is called Boomerang Medical Transcription, I wouldn't have picked that name, but that's the name she picked, assists medical workers maintaining their health records. So Marilyn decided that she wanted to start her own business. Through an article in the local newspaper that she read, she learned of Unlimited Futures, which was a business incubator with brand new office space. So she built and went into a fast-track business training class, and that was September. Now she has hired 3 employees and is ready to move out of the incubator into her own place on her own. So I congratulate and introduce Marilyn Mill, West Virginia success story, for her courage to seize the day, to take that first step for a better life for her 9-year-old son, Leon, and herself. So I ask you all, greet Marilyn Mill.
Wow, this is such an honor. And I never thought in a million years that I would be up in this podium with the president, governor, next governor of West Virginia, telling about my tribulations and then my triumphs. So this is a great day in history, indeed. I would like to share just a little bit about this story. After graduating from a college in a nursing program, I had a desire to serve my country. I received a direct presidential appointment as an ensign in the United States Navy. As a military officer, I both gave orders and was under authority. I was trained extensively in critical care and combat casualty, and never did I dream that the government would place a demand on what they invested until Desert Shield approached. I was stationed in Portsmouth Naval Hospital in Portsmouth, Virginia, assigned to Hospital 5, and during this time, I was married also to an active duty member who was stationed on a supply ship which was deployed in the Gulf. To make these matters a little complicated, I had a 3-year-old son who at that time stood the chance of being an orphan. But miraculously, and by the grace of God, that war ceased, and with minimal casualties, and my request to be released from active duty was granted. And I was released with an honorable discharge as lieutenant commander, I might add. Yes. Well, nothing in the military really prepared me for what lied ahead. After the Desert Storm, the stress also caused the departing of my husband and I. So I was left alone with my son, no money, no health care, and a little bit of bitterness from serving this country and ending up in this situation. I decided that I had to fight back. I got tired of the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. I had read that the federal government had recognized Huntington as an enterprising community. This program, which, as he said, was initiated by President Clinton to improve the economic, business, and social climate of Huntington. Out of this program is what was birthed, the Business Development Center. I participated in the training class, and this gave me a blueprint for starting my business and skills to do it successfully. I opened my doors, and as he said, boomerang does mean something to our company. It means you get it out, you get it back real quick. I have 3 full-time employees, but what he didn't say was 2 of those employees were unemployed and on welfare, and now they are employed, receiving good wages, and a chance for their families. President Clinton's vision for the future to improve, number 1, the availability of health care, which is very important, and 2, to place more people from the welfare roll to the payroll. It's crucial for the progress of economic front. My prayers are that my son and the children of tomorrow will have an understanding of the importance of entrepreneurship in the building of a community and a nation. And secondly, that they will not be hindered in whatever they dream to be or to do by anyone but themselves. I take this time with great honor to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. Yes!
Thank you. 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 Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, 36 years ago, when President Kennedy came here, he said, "The sun doesn't always shine in West Virginia, but the people do." Today, we have the sun and the people. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for making Hillary and Chelsea and me feel so welcome. Thank you, Governor Caperton, for being my friend and supporter and for the fine job you have done. Governor Caperton did a lot to put West Virginia on the national map by putting computers in the schools of your children. If you re-elect Al Gore and Bill Clinton in the next 4 years, we'll hook every one of those classrooms in America and in West Virginia up to the information superhighway so that all of our children will have world-class education. Thank you, Charlotte Pritt, for flying down with me and for running for governor of West Virginia. Thank you for sharing your plans to develop the economy on the way down here. They are consistent with my own, and they depend upon initiatives like the one that Marilyn just talked about. I want you in the governorship, and we'll work together to get West Virginia's unemployment rate down to and below the national average, and we shouldn't be satisfied until we get there. Thank you, Congressman Wise, for all that you do in Congress and for heading the Democratic Policy Group and putting our party in Congress squarely on the side of raising the minimum wage, increasing educational opportunity, increasing access to health care, and growing the economy for 4 more years. And thank you, Nick Rahal, your congressman, for all the work he has done to build the infrastructure of our country and this state. You know, if you put the Democrats in the majority in Congress again, Nick Rahal will be the chairman of that committee again and can do more good for you. Thank you, Jay Rockefeller, for standing up for children and for health care and for the ordinary citizens of the United States and your beloved West Virginia. I thank you and Sharon for being such good friends to Hillary and to me. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that when we signed that Kennedy-Kassebaum bill this week, which said to 25 million Americans, you can't be cut off your health insurance if somebody in your family gets sick, and you can't lose it if you change jobs. In addition to the sponsors of that bill, the people who were most responsible for bringing it up and hammering it home to the public consciousness were Jay Rockefeller and the First Lady of the United States, because they fought for health care before it was popular. And I want to thank both your congressman and your senator, and 2 of our guests who are out here, Senator Wendell Ford and Congressman Mike Ward from Kentucky, who are here with the governor of Kentucky, Paul Patton, and the former First Lady, Phyllis George Brown. We thank you all for coming, because when our friends in the opposition tried to pass a budget that would have given us a 2-tier system of Medicare, one for the wealthy and one for the poor, that would have turned away from our historic commitment to health care for families with people with disabilities, for the elderly in nursing homes, for the poorest children in our country, that would have cut our investment in education when we needed to spend more, and cut our investment in protecting the environment when we need to invest more, and I vetoed it. They upheld my veto. If it hadn't been for them, none of this would have happened. They stood up, they were counted, and they said no. Let me thank all the other officials who are here. Thank you, Mayor Gene Dean. I thank all the state officials who are here, your treasurer, your secretary of state, your attorney general, your agriculture commissioner, your auditor, the president of the Senate, Senator Tomlin, your party chair, Chuck Chambers, and former Governor Smith. I thank all of you for coming here. I thank President Cecil Roberts of the UMW for being here. I thank President Wade Gilley of Marshall University, and thank you, Marshall Thunder and Herd Band. You were great today, and thanks for being so good to Hillary. If you would, I'd like to indulge me one personal moment, too. I want to say a special word of thanks to the state of West Virginia, for the Chief of Staff to the Secretary of the Treasury, Sylvia Matthews from Hinton, West Virginia, who's here with me today, one of the brightest and best people in our administration. And I would like to say a special word of gratitude to one woman who is here, Emma Williams. She is the mother of Bill Morton, who was the special assistant to Secretary Ron Brown. And Bill was killed on that plane with Ron, serving our country, helping to grow our economy, standing up for America, and I'll always remember and love him for it. Thank you, Emma Williams, for being here today. And finally, thank you, Marilyn Mill. Your story, your spirit, that is what we have been fighting for the last 4 years. More stories like this, people who are down but not out, people who give other people a chance to make something of their lives. And that's what our Enterprise Community Initiative did, working with your mayor here, working with your city council, working with the local business people when you lost that factory. That is the kind of initiative we need to move this country forward. We've got to turn our country around economically, person by person, family by family, town by town. That is what I have tried to do, to let enterprise take root in every community in America. Everyone, more Marilyn Mills. That's what this election's all about. My fellow Americans, 4 years ago, I came to you in West Virginia and told you that West Virginia was a lot like my home state of Arkansas. I told you that I believed we were on the verge of the greatest age of possibility in American history, where more of our people would have more chances to live their dreams than ever before, but only if we found a way to meet the challenges of the 21st century and preserve our timeless values. It was a hard message to deliver then. We had stagnant, high unemployment, stagnant job growth. Wages were level or going down for many people. The crime rate was going up. We had a host of social problems that were unaddressed. Our country seemed to be more divided by harsh political rhetoric and just sort of drifting into the future. But I knew that we could turn this around. And I come here to say to you, I'm on my way to Chicago. And I'm going on a train. Because I want to see the people like you that I've been working for and fighting for 4 years. And because I want America to see people like Marilyn Mill, who are the product of our efforts for the last 4 years. And because I want America to know we are on the right track in this country and we're going forward, we're not turning back. There are a lot of people in West Virginia who embody the America I want to see. Dorothy Slack, 82 years old, who's given 1,300 hours to the Ronald McDonald House. Richard Lowe, who's threw the javelin in the Special Olympics. O.C. Lockhart, shown as of only one of 16 athletes from the United States to go to the 1997 Special Olympics in Canada. All the people of Marshall University who bring health care and preventive care to isolated towns and villages of this region. It does take a village to raise a child, help a family, build a community, and lift a country, and you're doing it in West Virginia. In the year 2000, when we stand at the dawn of a new century, my vision today is what it was 4 years ago. I want the American dream of opportunity for all alive for everybody who's responsible enough to work for it. I want this country coming together, not drifting apart. Our diversity is a strength, not a weakness. We ought to walk arm in arm, hand in hand into the future together. And I am determined that we will still be the strongest force for peace and freedom and prosperity in the world. This is still a dangerous world, still a world with untapped opportunities, and America needs to lead the way into the new future we want for the world we want our children to live in. Now, folks, you've heard a lot of this, but I just want you to remember it. I want to tell you very briefly what we've done, remind you very briefly of what we wouldn't let be done, and talk just a little bit about what we're going to do for the next 4 years. That's mostly what I want to do in Chicago. But I want you to be the vote and the voice and the steps of our movement, America Forward. Just think of this. You heard about the 10 million new jobs. That's a lot of people. The 10 million new jobs came because first we decided we would cut the deficit in half to get interest rates down so people could invest in America again and afford to borrow money for businesses and homes. That's what we had to do. This is the first time that the deficit has gone down all 4 years in a president's term since the 1840s, before the Civil War. Ask our friends what they say about that. And my opponent and the Speaker of the House led the fight against that move. They said it would wreck the economy and increase the deficit. Well, it produced 10 million jobs, and it gave 15 million families a tax cut. And it was the right thing to do. It is moving us forward. There are almost 4.5 million new homeowners, and 10 million Americans have refinanced their home mortgages at lower interest rates because we got those interest rates down. We did the right thing, and they were wrong to oppose it. Because of the health care bill, 25 million Americans have access to health care. Because of the minimum wage bill, 10 million Americans have a rising wage. Another thing in the minimum wage was that it made 90% of the small businesses in this country eligible for a tax cut if they invest more in their businesses, and it made it easier for people like Marilyn to get pensions for herself and her employees, and that's very important too. 12 million Americans, working Americans, have been able to take a little time off from work without losing their jobs when there's a baby born or a parent sick because of the Family and Medical Leave Act. Our opponents led the fight against it. They were wrong. We were right. It's good for America. The crime rate has come down for 4 years in a row. We are midway through putting those 100,000 police on the street. There are 200 more in West Virginia alone. We have to finish the job. Our opponents last year tried to take back that commitment to 100,000 police. They're trying to restrict it today. I said no. Your congressman said no. We want people safe on our streets, and we know the policemen will do the job. Help us keep that commitment to America. Help us stay after it. We have supported policies that made the air cleaner for 50 million Americans. We cleaned up more toxic waste dumps in 3 years than they did in 12. We defended our country's national parks. We are moving this country in the right direction. We expanded the college loan program so all these students at Marshall and other places could have access to lower cost loans with better repayment terms. And we created a national service program so children could earn their way through college by doing community service. We're moving in the right direction. We're on that right track. And unemployment in West Virginia is 4 points lower than it was 4 years ago. If we keep going at 1 point a year, it'll be below 4% by the year 2000. I'd like to do it if you'll help me. Let's just keep going. I want you to remember that. When people say, why should we support Bill Clinton and Al Gore? Tell them what I told you. And ask them what their answer is. And ask them why they fought it. And I want you to remember that in the pivotal moment of 1995, when they said to Bill Clinton and Al Gore and Jay Rockefeller and Robert Byrd and Bob Wise and Nick Rahal, if you don't take our budget, if you don't walk away from the commitment of health care to the elderly in nursing homes, to families with people with disabilities in them, to the poorest children in this country, if you don't walk away from the commitment to invest in the environment and the education of our children and our future, we're going to shut the government down. We said, have at it. We don't stand for blackmail. We stand up for America. Now, the most important thing is, shall we keep going on the right track or turn around? Would you take a U-turn if you were going in the right direction? In the next 4 years, we've got to build on the health care work. We have to make it possible for people who are unemployed to keep their health insurance for at least 6 months when they're unemployed. Their families shouldn't be put on the street without a doctor just because people lose their jobs. We have to make the next 2 years of education, the first 2 years of college, just as universal in the next 4 years as a high school education is today, with a tax credit for those 2 years and a tax deduction for all college tuition up to $10,000 a year. And we ought to have the right kind of tax cut. The right kind of tax cut is one that's targeted to people who need it, focused on building strong families and educating people so that they'll be more productive, they'll grow the economy, they'll be stronger, and is paid for in a balanced budget. That's what our tax cut does. Give people tax breaks to go to college. Give people tax reductions if they have young children. Give people an expanded IRA that they can withdraw from for a first-time home or health care or education needs. But don't give people a big tax cut that costs over $500 billion that'll blow a big hole in the deficit, raise interest rates, raise your mortgage rates, your credit card payments, your car payments, and require even worse cuts than the ones we vetoed last year. That's the wrong way. No U-turn. Stay on the right track. Go forward into the future. That's the right way. I have said 1,000 times, but I'll say one more time. I know we still have problems. There's still too many people who want work who don't have it. We've got to give all those people that we're saying on welfare, there's no more guaranteed check anymore. We've got to make a lot more Marilyn Mills because they're entitled to work if we're going to cut them off of a check for their kids. We've got to give them the jobs. We've got to create the jobs. I know there are still people who've worked hard and don't have a pay raise, and we've got to give those folks the education they need and challenge their employers to be responsible when they make a profit to share their income with their employees so we can go forward and grow together. I know that. But I will say again, as I have said over and over and over again since 1991, if we want a country where the American dream is alive for everybody who will work for it, if we want a country where people are coming together, not being divided, if we want a country that is leading the world for peace and freedom and prosperity, we got to have opportunity for all, responsibility from all, and a sense of community. We are all in this fight for the future together. I don't want to be told you're on your own. I don't want to look at people and say you're on your own. I believe we're stronger when we join hands and march into that future together on the right track. The right track. Will you help us? Will you stay with us? Will you fight for victory? Will we win? I know we will. Thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you.